Now have an update with the 8 passengers case, an update that obviously a lot of people were waiting for, which is basically the evidence has now been made public. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a lot of the police body cam footage, which includes the arrests, the questioning of Ruby and Jodie, although they try not to say much, especially from Ruby's side. But then there's also a video of Kevin Frankie, the dad, being questioned, and he says a lot more. Now, as well as the body cam footage, there is also a lot more evidence that has been released that I'm not going to show in this video for very obvious reasons. And in fact, quite frankly, I regret seeing it completely. I was on Reddit trying to find information for this video, and amongst the information was the evidence in terms of the injuries, and they so much worse than I could have ever imagined. Like, to the point that when we've read these articles talking about the injuries, they don't seem anywhere near as bad as what the photos say. And I was already of the opinion that Ruby and Jodie got an incredibly light sentence. It should have been longer. But now after that, it's so beyond light that it's incredibly frustrating. But yeah, I do just want to say to everyone watching this video, I realise people are curious. They want to see what's happened. They want to see all the information. I would highly recommend not looking at that type of stuff. It's so bad. And I can almost promise you that you will regret it. So genuinely, I would highly recommend being careful when you're looking up for information. A couple of pictures I will show because it's not the kids, it's not the injuries, it's just stuff that was laid in the house that kind of puts this in perspective. As there is this picture of the tape that they were obviously using to cover the wounds. There was also this picture of all the food that was in the house, and the reason that I'm showing this is because the kids were incredibly malnourished, as we heard in the report. And the fact that they just had a house full of food, almost like taunting them when they're doing this, is so beyond disgusting. And yeah, I don't want to show any of the ones. I don't even want to see them again, quite frankly. But let's actually go on to the police body cam footage. Now, I do just want to say I got this footage personally from Law and Crime Network and KUTV. The footage has been made public for people to see, but these are the channels that I'm watching it from. Okay, so first of all, we have footage of Ruby Frankie actually getting arrested, and you'll see in these clips, she refuses to say anything until she has a lawyer there, which is what most people do anyways, but she genuinely just doesn't say anything in these clips.
Place your hand behind your back for me. Perfect. And then right now I can put a finger in each of these, okay?
Yeah, so this is kind of what the whole footage is. I'm obviously not going to play it all because she doesn't say much, but I will say she doesn't look exactly shocked that any of this is happening in any of these clips. And one person who definitely wasn't surprised to see police pulling up at their door was Jodie Hildebrand, because she was prepared for it. She was literally on the phone to her attorney before they even knocked on the door. So obviously she was made aware of this beforehand. She must have knew that Ruby got arrested.
Jodie, I need you to step out.
I have my attorney.
That's great. Step out of the house.
No, I'm not going to step out of the
Step
house.
out of the house.
Step out of the house.
Whoa.
We're just gonna see if anybody else. Is there anybody else home?
Wait a minute, how do you come to my house?
Right there.
Look, they come into my house.
Just have a seat right there.
Do you have a search warrant?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously if a person was innocent and the police just rocked up into their house, they would also be annoyed. But let's be honest here, the reason why she is panicking so much and she's so worried here is because there is so much evidence in the house and she knows exactly what she's done. The video then carries on, searching the house. She's saying, do you have a search warrant over and over again? She's on the phone to her attorney right now. And then we move on to them actually getting questioned. Again, Ruby refuses to say anything.
We also have snacks if you need anything to eat. So I know I introduced myself to you earlier, but my name is Detective Bates, and this is Sergeant Tobler. We're just here to talk to you about kind of a few things involving your kids. So first, do you live down here, or?
Yeah, so that is basically what the full video is. She refuses to say anything. On the other hand, Jodie does say a little bit more. She keeps saying that she wants her attorney, and she also says that she understands this situation and where the police are coming from because she's a psychologist.
I know, and I'd love to tell you if you were here, because I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with what I say. You know, I'm a psychologist. I've watched people flip things all the time, so I get it. I sit on your side. I get it. I wish people didn't do that, but they do.
I mean, if there's anyone here who tries to flip things all the time, it's definitely Jodie Hildebrand. She has tried brainwashing so many people at this point that the number of the people isn't even known. There's so many. And in fact, one big part of this footage I found incredibly ironic is that when Jodie Hildebrand has been put in the back of a police car and she's got handcuffs on, she complains about the discomfort.
Hop on in. I'll help you finish.
I had a crash on the right side, so my shoulder's screwed up.
Okay.
Instantly complaining because she's got some injuries and whatnot, which, again, when you put in perspective of what she's done to the children, it's mental that she even feels like she has the right to complain about anything at this point. But yeah, there's loads of bits of, like, body cam footage of, like, them trying to question Jodie and Ruby, also of the arrests and whatnot. But they don't say much. I'm not going to show them in this video, but they're out there. They're on Law and Crime Network, and they're also on KU TV. Right, so I'm recording this bit after I've filmed what you've just watched and what is going to carry on after this clip. But I have just came across the audio of the conversation between Ruby and Kevin Frankie after this happened, apparently the first conversation they had on the phone. And I needed to include this in the video for a couple of reasons. First of all, obviously I mentioned before that Ruby didn't say much to the police, which is true, but she says a lot in this, and it's frustrating, to say the least. So the call starts off with them first talking about money, which sounds a bit bizarre, especially when you bear in mind the circumstances they're in right now, the fact that their first thought would be money. But then Kevin does go on to say that he's seen a news article about what has been happening here, and he says that it's broke his heart, to which Ruby gets incredibly defensive, and seems like she, like, blamed Sherry here.
The one who sent me an article, and it just broke my heart. I just wanted you to know I'm
Welcome to the Waverhood.
The Wayfair vibe at our place.
thinking about you, and if I can ever be a resource, we are always here.
Are we in the news?
It sounds like that at least you're in the news. I don't know about me. I don't know what he's talking about. But
I'm wondering if they went to Sherry to, like, ask her questions.
What does that matter? I mean, you're in the news because you've been arrested. Like, obviously it's going to be in the news. But yeah, straight away she's like, oh, I wonder if they went to Sherry, because obviously Sherry had been speaking out for quite a while against Ruby, and she's obviously aware of this, and she's straight away being like, oh, I bet they went over to Sherry and she spoke to them. Like, maybe let's forget about who they spoke to and just think about your actions. That'd probably be a good start. Ruby then goes on to say that the devil's been after her for years.
The devil's been after me for years. And he's mad as heart to death.
And then as you can hear by this awful noise here, they've cut something out of the call. I don't know what they mention here, but Kevin then goes on to say, like, you do realise this call's been recorded, right? Which makes me believe that maybe Ruby is talking about these horrific allegations that she made against her own children that we heard about, and it was, like, leaked to the public.
I have not said a word until I have an attorney.
okay, well, you know that this phone call is being recorded.
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
Yes, that will come out. That will come out.
Yeah, so again, I'm not 100% sure what she said here, but that's my guess. Kevin then tells Ruby that the kids are going to be in hospital for 3 days, to which he says is unnecessary.
They're going to be in the hospital for 3 days.
So weird. It's just not necessary.
And trust me, because I've unfortunately seen the injuries, it's 100% necessary. It should have been necessary a long time ago, judging by that. And the fact that she can sit here and be like, oh, it's just not necessary, I don't know what goes on in her brain. I don't get how she can come to that thought process at all. Ruby then goes on to talk about some book that she was reading, makes like a joke about it, starts laughing about it, and just talking about what the message is behind the book, says that she's prepared for this, and yeah, just a load of waffle, really.
I do feel strong and I feel calm. And you know what? They may... Adults have a really hard time understanding that children can be full of evil and what that takes to fight it.
Literally just blaming the children. I don't even have words to describe this, genuinely. But yeah, the call then ends with Kevin saying that he's going to fight for the custody of the children. And yeah, I just felt like this was important to show in the video and to show what Ruby's actual thoughts were. Since she wasn't talking to the police, she blamed the children instantly. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. But one person who did say a lot more was Kevin Frankie, and in fact there's a 45-minute video of him getting questioned about the incident. Now, to put into context as to what's happened before this interrogation from Kevin's side, from the best of my knowledge, it seems like he got a call from somebody that he doesn't want to name throughout this interview, that he needed to head to the police station instantly to come and pick up his kids. And according to him, before this interview, that's all he knew. So now I'm going to go through some of the key points. If you do want to see the full video, it's on the Law and Crime Network YouTube channel. But Kevin does start off by saying that he hasn't seen any of the kids in over a year.
Are they all living with you, or
No, I haven't seen them for over a year.
any of them?
No, none of them.
Which does seem to be the truth at this point from the information that we've got, so I'm not going to go at him for lying, but how have you put yourself in a situation? Like, what dad is just going to decide to stop seeing his kids completely and not see them for over a year? There's no legal situation that was stopping him seeing the kids. He just said that he came to like a verbal agreement with Ruby that he would no longer see them.
Drop by the home, or
No.
was
I
there?
honored the no separation boundary that we agreed to.
So What
Or
was
no
your separation?
contact boundary, excuse me.
Did you have a no contact order in place?
Order? No, this was between my wife and I.
So yeah, like I said, there was no legal reasons why he couldn't see them. He just agreed with Ruby that he wouldn't see them, and he just didn't. He then goes on to explain the separation between him and Ruby slightly. He goes into more information as the video goes on, but he originally just says that they separated and he was almost to blame. It was because of his actions.
Did she ask you not to contact the kids?
Ruby invited me to leave the home while I thought about the choices that I've made in my life and the way that I've treated her.
Okay.
And we do hear what these reasons were later on in the video, which we will get to, but basically it's apparently because he had a pornography addiction and that's why they separated, and that's why Ruby asked him to leave to work on himself. They then go on to ask Kevin how they disciplined his children, and he refuses to answer.
And during your marriage, how was disciplining your kids? How would you discipline your kids?
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay, that's fine.
He then goes on to talk about the conversations he has had with Ruby since they separated. Apparently it was only a few times in 2023, and it was mainly to do with finances. They never spoke about the well-being of the children, which again is crazy. Like, to not see them is one thing, but to not ask about them, I don't understand it. And this is where we get onto the topic of connections in 8 Passengers, where Kevin says that he supports the idea of connections, and in fact he actually listens to the podcast every week.
I'm not aware of that, but I know that they've been in business for the last year filming.
Who's they?
Ruby and Jody. They film podcasts, and so every week a podcast goes up and I listen to it.
Which blows my mind even more, because he literally says here he listens to the podcast, but then is very adamant in the fact that he doesn't believe that Ruby and Jody would do anything like this. In fact, he praises Jody Hildebrand throughout this. But how could you possibly listen to Connections and not worry about what they're doing behind the scenes? Because it seems like every other person in the world who was aware of this worried about it massively. But he didn't, the person who should probably be worrying about it the most.
And then, like, do you support them in that role and doing that and having...
Do I support them in the business?
Yeah, like, do you support them and think that what they're doing is a good thing, or...
Yeah, I support their business efforts. I think it's a good thing.
Are you involved with their business efforts, or...?
No.
I mean, he was kind of involved at the beginning. He was in a lot of the videos until, like, the separation, but I guess he wasn't, like, part of the business in terms of Ruby and Jody, like, actually producing the content. But yeah, I mean, he clearly says here that he supports the content, which, again, mind-blowing. Now, at this point, he goes on to talk about Jody specifically and says that she is a trustworthy person. I mean, yeah, let's just play it.
She is an honest, I know her to be an honest and a trustworthy individual.
Like, are we still talking about the same Jody here? Because no one else seems to hold that opinion, and that was before we found out about this specific situation, so I have no idea how he came to this conclusion. Now, at this point, Kevin gets asked about the backlash that 8 Passengers has received over the years, and he gives his opinions on it, which is basically just saying, oh, it's because of this one incident, which is obviously not true.
Newsweek magazine in 2020 on it, and was it Newsweek? No, Business Insider, where we were interviewed, and we were pretty straightforward and we talked about it and we shared our piece in that. Basically, it boils down to
It boils down to. So this is it, apparently.
Very cruel, and
he was cruel,
mean
and
to
mean.
his siblings that he shared a room with, and so.
By the way, I'll just pause it here and say, in the actual video, the original video, they say the reason why this punishment was made was because Chad played a prank on his brother and said that they were going to go to Disneyland when they weren't. Now, of course, there might be more to it than that. That's the reason they gave in the video. Ruby's in the video, doesn't deny it. But even still, the punishment is obviously ridiculous.
We said you can sleep anywhere you want. Sleep on the couch, sleep on the pull-out bed, sleep on the floor for all we care, but you're not sleeping in that room with your brother. He chose to sleep on a beanbag. So 9 months later.
9 months later. I mean, he's trying to like play this off as if it's like not that big of a deal. He even says that it boils down to this, which obviously to anyone who's even watched any videos on 8 Passengers throughout the years, you would know that this is not the only situation. There are many. But yeah, what he's explaining here is that Chad slept on a beanbag for 9 months for saying here. I thought in the original video it said 7, maybe it was 9. But he slept on a beanbag for 9 months because he was mean. Apparently. Which of course I shouldn't have to tell anyone is absolutely ridiculous. But to try and sit here and say that this is the only reason why people are upset is mind-blowing again, because there are videos out there of Ruby where she's been contacted by the teachers to say one of her children who's 6 years old doesn't have food at school and she refuses to take food for her daughter because it was her responsibility as a 6-year-old. So she just lets her daughter go hungry at school because she didn't pack her own lunch. And look, if I was going to sit here and talk about every single thing that they've done, I would be here forever because I've made so many videos talking about it all, but there is a ridiculous amount of things. For him to try and sit here and boil it down to just one incident is stupid. He then goes on to talk about connections even further, says that Ruby and Jodie decided to create this business, which is a bit weird to me because I'm pretty sure Ruby said when she was in court that she wasn't a part of the business, you know, she was just like a client to Jodie Hildbrand. But when you hear Kevin explain it over and over again in this video, it definitely doesn't sound like that.
Well, they decided to start a business in 2021.
Which, yeah, definitely goes against what Ruby said. He then talks further about the YouTube stuff, says they lost 90% of their income when they stopped doing their 8 Passengers channel. He then goes on to explain the reason for the separation again, says it was because he had this, like, pornography problem. He then also says that Jodie told him that he needed to get help, to which he says that he agreed.
We have a close relationship, and Jodie saw the need for me to get help. And frankly, I agree. The space has been exactly what I need to face, my own.
So yeah, I don't know how much Jodie was responsible for the fact that they ended up separating. I don't know what she told Ruby. I can take a guess and say that she probably did tell Ruby a lot of things to do in a situation just because she did it to so many other people. And now it's at this point they finally tell Kevin the reason why he's here and talk about the injuries. I'm not going to play them actually explaining the stuff because it's very graphic, but what I will show is Kevin's reaction.
Would I condone that behavior?
That's my job. My job is to find out your knowledge of the treatment of these
based on your
precious
description,
children.
No. Again, I don't know the details or I don't know what's going on, but as you described that sounds
horrible, disgusting. No human being should be treated like that.
Okay.
That's my thoughts, but again, we might be different on that.
And look, I'm no body language expert, but I would be very interested to see someone who is cover this situation and talk about his reaction, because it does seem a bit odd to me, but then also if he wasn't aware of any of this and he was just told this information, I don't know how you're really supposed to act because it is a lot of horrible information to receive just instantly. They then leave Kevin in the room by himself for a few minutes. This is when he actually starts to show emotion, has his head in his hands, seems to start crying as well. He starts talking about how he just tries every day to provide for the family because he still pays all the bills, and he has a picture of them in his house and stuff, so he sees the picture every single day. And then he says that this situation just sounds completely made up.
Everything you're sharing to me just sounds like a made-up story. I have no idea what you're talking about.
And yeah, look, he might have not known the extent of everything that was happening because even we didn't know the extent of it. Everyone else was still shocked when this information came out. Even all the people who have been covering 8 Passengers for so long were shocked when we saw the extent of everything that's been happening. So he might not have been aware of it, but he had more than enough reasons to be worried because everyone was. And now toward the end of the video, he's still saying similar stuff, saying he doesn't believe any of this. He starts reciting keywords from Connections, it sounds like, and then says that this feels like a sucker punch.
For all intents and purposes, I woke up this morning looking at the picture of my family and making my commitment today, as I do every day, that I'm going to live an honest, a virtuous, and a responsible life today. And what you're sharing with me just feels like a sucker punch.
And yeah, this is pretty much where the video ends. They say Kevin is free to leave and drive home. The children are obviously still in the hospital at this point, so he's not able to see them. And yeah, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the stuff we're seeing is so beyond shocking. And it shouldn't be shocking in the sense of when we look at it, we're like, whoa, this is way worse than I thought, because we've already heard horrible, horrible information. So you kind of sat there thinking, surely it can't get worse. And then it just does. And like I also said at the beginning of the video, I feel like the sentence that Ruby and Jodie got was so incredibly light, like beyond light. But yeah, that is just some of the evidence that has been released today or yesterday as you're watching this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on the videos that we watched. Again, I would like to just warn you, like, be careful if you are going to be researching this for yourself, like, genuinely. It's really horrible. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to leave the video there, so until tomorrow, I'll see you guys in a bit. Goodbye.
It's Michael's lowest prices of the season. Shop now for up to 70% off store-wide and score huge deals on spring stems, art and craft supplies, and custom frames. Plus, save on all spring floral and decor and all Easter decor. And here's another way to save.
$4?
Solar power?
Hey, listen, it's low radiation.
Save me. A day worth of living in for me.
This is dumb.
So me and Thomas bought a bunch of random stuff on Wish, and we're gonna make Jude and Bren test out each product and guess how much we spent on it. Whoever gets closest to the actual price will get a point, and at the end of the game, the loser will have to record a vlog with the stuff that we...
That's a mess.
Wheelchair and then went like this to her.
No, she shoved the wheelchair, got in my face, but no, she did not hit me.
Jeremy, we watched her. She went like this to you.
Maybe she did, but not really hard.
Ah, they're protecting her. Okay. Dude, I don't know, man. Like, I don't understand the concept of, like, parents protecting their children in situations like this. Like, let them have a goddamn lesson. Like, if they do shit like this, they should get full punishment and they should learn from it. That's what you should do as a parent. Don't try to, like, get them out of the situation.